to the holiday special. Look at you got Christmas stuff in the background. And
No, I just have
these
Cardinal stuff.
well, I've got
Yeah,
holiday
you
stuff. I
got
got
one
Christmas
nothing.
stuff. Yeah. And last week I wish I would have thought about this. I could have put a menorah in back of me because last week started Hanukkah.
Look at
Um,
that.
but being I'm not Jewish, it's not always at the forefront of my mind that Hanukkah's going on. But anyway, to our Jewish friends, happy Hanukkah. To our Christian friends, Merry Christmas. And to our secular people, ho, ho, ho. So
Very,
I
very good.
want to tell you to please like us on Facebook. You can contact us through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. You can subscribe to our page by clicking on the icon at the bottom right, or you can wait until the end of the video and then you can click on the icon there. Either way, you will be part of the fold. You can support us through Patreon. Go to patreon.com and search One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer. You can support our efforts for as little as $3 a month. And we greatly appreciate everybody who supports our efforts. And that's why JJ cannot afford a background because we need more Patreon, because I'm taking all the money for the backgrounds here. So, um, and I do want to update on Guess the Cubby um, tally so far. Last week, the gentleman that we had up here was Hack Wilson, um, old time Cub, Hall of Famer. Didn't play that long and really only had like 5 peak years. One of these guys, you're not sure, should he be a Hall of Famer or not? But had some battles with alcoholism and kind of a sad
Most
story.
most RBIs in a season too.
Yeah,
I
91 RBIs in the season. So
my gosh.
at 5'6", by the way, 5'6". Ruth was like this big 6'3", 6'4" guy, and his contemporary in the National League for a few years, the one the National League Babe Ruth was a guy who was almost a foot shorter than him. But anyway, our tally so far, Mark Marianello has 3 tallies, Tom Maget has 2 tallies, and Kuder Lev has 1 tally. So I do have a Cub that I will put up next week. But being it's the holiday, I thought I'd put up the holiday background. So
Now, Vince, somebody did answer that on our website. They did put the answer. Did they say Hack Wilson on that one? There was
yeah,
somebody who said, "Okay, all right."
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I got 3 guesses this week, and they all got it right. The other 2 dribbled in a little bit later. So um, the next one's going to be a little tougher. It's not quite Dave Rosello, but it's going to
That
be
was
a
tough.
little tougher. So anyway, so JJ, what's up with you?
I Vince, I tell you what, this year has flown by. It doesn't seem like Christmas is around the corner. They say as you get older, time flies a little faster. Well, I must be getting old because the baseball season's over. Uh, it's flown by. When you hit Thanksgiving, it just seems like you blink and it's Christmas and then New Year's, and then you come to a screeching halt in January, and it slowly gets to spring training. Sorry, go ahead.
You are getting older because you had a birthday last week.
Yeah, 60. 60. Oh man, I'm getting up there. I don't feel 60. Feel, I don't know, a strong 12. I feel like I'm 12 still, you know, in spirit, but my body says otherwise.
Well, happy belated birthday. I did wish you your birthday on your birthday, but
Thank you. I went
our
down to
our
Memphis and
listeners didn't hear it, so I'm pouring out my heart. Last year I had a cake for you and I
I
ate
know you had the whole thing. It was
it. So,
great. I went down to Memphis and did some shows and met some new people and went to Kentucky and did a show. And Thursday I'm going to Arkansas. And I've sort of met people who said, come to Arkansas on Thursday. So I'm going to go down to Jonesboro and do something down there on Thursday. So I'm getting out there. For an old guy, I'm still out there doing my thing. So that's kind of been it. I mean, I hope you all have a great Christmas. It's coming up. It's going to be here before we know it. And just hope everybody's safe and sound. And um, you know, just I hope everything works out for everybody and be careful out there. So far, we haven't had any bad weather, which is I'm knock on wood because we are getting into late December, and so far so good. I think it got up to 40 degrees today, so that's pretty good for late December. But I tell you what, baseball is still kind of a long ways away. I don't know if you know this, Vince, but today it's 100 days to opening day, so triple digits. Tomorrow we get down to the double digits, so we're getting there. How's your pre-Christmas things going? I know you're a big cooker and everything.
Really good. I haven't been cooking much lately. My wife has been on this program, and I'm very proud of her this year. She has lost 60 pounds.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
fantastic.
and she's been doing the cooking. And at first I thought, okay, yeah, this is really gonna suck because I'm kind of like, all right, you start every recipe with a stick of butter. That's the kind of cook I am. So uh everything she makes, being she's done a lot of the cooking, has been really good. Like tonight she made chili and she made it out of a can of pumpkin pie filling. And that sounds weird, but it was really awesome. And
Oh,
then she made cornbread out of the blue cornmeal that's better for you and stuff like that. So she's lost 60 and I've gained about 8 this year. So no matter what she cooks, it's healthier, but I just need a lot more of it, I guess. Uh, but that's good, and very excited for the holidays. Those of you probably know, Saturday, Max graduated from college, and
outstanding.
he's got an apartment in Kirksville, and didn't know if he was gonna kind of stay there, but he said, "No, I'm gonna try to sublease it because he's got a lease through the summer, and then he'll stay here looking for jobs and stuff like that. All the fun stuff that college grads do." But also very excited. A lot of people on here know that JJ and I are huge wrestling fans, and uh, I've got tickets. My daughter Evelyn, who is the most girly of my girls, I guess you could say, um, who has no interest in sports at all, she said, "Hey, let's go see the Iron Claw." Okay, so I've got me, Evelyn, Max, my son-in-law Mondo, and Max is going to bring her friend because Violet has a job where she works on Sundays now, so she can't go. But on Christmas Eve, 12:15, we're going to Alamo Draft House and going to see Iron Claw. I'm pretty excited about that. Um, for those who are our age and lived through the Von Erich phase of professional wrestling, unreal. It was the
It was
biggest
the
thing.
best. It
It
was
was
the best.
it
Memphis wrestling, Georgia, Mid Atlantic, and Texas. That was the best. Oh man, I got to meet, and I'm going to post this picture tonight. I got to meet Kevin Von Erich at a Harley race event, and I got a picture with him. And this was 2011. It was the night. So me and Tom Majay, who's got two Cubs right in your contest, we were at these wrestling matches, and when we came out, we had to turn the TV on or the radio to see what the Cardinals were doing against the Rangers, and it was the night Pujols hit 3 home runs in the World Series. So that was the night we met Rick Steamboat and Kevin Von Erich. So I got a picture of me and Von Erich. So I always appreciate what a nice guy. He's been through so much, and I hope this movie just I've seen a lot of reviews, and there's every review has been really good on this particular movie. So all the wrestling fans out there, get out and support these wrestling movies. This will be great.
Yeah, for my daughter to want to go see it, she's seen the reviews and she's seen the trailers. For her to want to go see it, uh, must be
Well,
really
I'm
good.
gonna I'm gonna go on the Zac Efron diet. Did you see him in the?
He's jacked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
and for those of you who don't know, if you're not a wrestling fan, I guess we do need to clarify. Harley Race was a wrestler. It is not a motorcycle competition. So
That's true. Sorry.
here's my dad joke of the night. So,
Oh,
so just a few things that have happened this week because this has been such a dry off season so
oh
far.
yeah.
I am happy that Andrew McCutcheon is going back to the Pirates,
Me
where he
too.
belongs. And I always thought he was not just a really good baseball player. One time he was a great player, but he's always seemed to be a great human being. And so he's going back to the Pirates, and probably be like that manager or that coach, on the roster. And I probably will go into coaching one day. I think he's got the personality for it. The Pirates also signed Rowdy Tellez to be their first baseman, so they got a little thump there.
Oh yeah.
And he had kind of a down year last year after an All-Star year, so I guess they're banking that he will rebound. And of course, being the Dodgers have room under the cap, they went ahead and traded for Tyler Glass now, and they'll pay that $25 million, and still stay under the luxury tax. And when I get to Cub news, I'll talk a little bit more about that because the Cubs are in the running for that. Um, the Royals have been busy.
Yes.
Chris Stratton's coming over. Um, Michael Waka, who had a heck of a year last year,
Yes.
he signed with the Royals, and Hunter Renfroe, who keeps going from team to team to team to team, doesn't have the best reputation. Sorry, Hunter, if you listen to this, but hey, I didn't create your reputation. But anyway, the Royals adding some veteran presence. Sounds crazy. I'm not saying they're going to win that division, but that division
Up for
is
grabs.
not that strong. So
Yeah.
uh, who knows another year of maturity with these young players. Bobby Witt Jr. Going to be all world within
Oh
the
yeah.
next few seasons.
That pass squatch kid at first base who could hit the scoreboard. Oh man, I'm telling you what, and Singer, he's highly touted pitcher with these veterans coming in. Look out, this could be fun.
It could be fun. Yeah. And the one of the most comical things that has happened in the offseason in recent memory, the Braves trade for Matt Carpenter, thinking they're going to flip Matt Carpenter like they did like
Uh,
Stassi and
Marco Gonzalez.
yeah, Marco Gonzalez. Well, they went to flip him, and absolutely nobody wanted him, so they just had to release him.
Oh,
So the I think he hit a buck 70 last year. I
uh,
don't know. I mean, the Braves have to pay the salary except for the minimum. So I guess someone's going to invite him to spring training and see if he's got anything going on there. The Guardian signed Austin Hedges.
oh,
Other
sweet.
than that, it's just a lot of very small, minor trades involving minor leaguers that we really haven't heard much about. Um, that's kind of the only thing going on in the grand scope of things. What have you got for the opening chat, JJ?
Well, Cardinals, it's just rumors. Everybody, and to be honest with you, the amount of money that's going to some of these players and their health records or how consistent they are, I just, I'm kind of glad the Cardinals didn't get Tyler Glass now for that kind of money. He's only pitched 120 innings, was his biggest season, but when he's on the mound and he's healthy, he's fantastic. So I know they're banking on him being great, but um, I don't think we're done yet, but it's just kind of quiet here in St. Louis now that we've hit the holiday time of the year. A lot of rumors. I know Yamamoto's still out there. I seriously do not, the way the money's climbing and the Mets are involved, I just can't see the Cardinals getting him. Would love to have him, but I just don't think it's realistic. They're talking like 300 million for him. And I know the Cubs are involved. They keep mentioning the Cubs in that, but the Cardinals, I just don't see us getting them, and that's fine. Uh, so what I did was this thing beyond the numbers. I'm a stat geek. I love these numbers and looking at the upcoming season, just a few things we can talk about. I mentioned a while ago, it's 100 days to opening day. It can't get here quick enough. And spring training's just about 6 weeks, I mean, maybe 7 weeks away now. Excited about that. As soon as you start hearing the smack of the ball and the glove and the crack of the bat, man, I don't know, it just kind of rejuvenates me. Uh, but some of the things that's going on this year, Mike Trout. Now, Mike Trout was played in that shortened season of 60 games. He's been hurt here lately, but the man has 368 home runs. He's 84th all time in home runs. That's pretty impressive right there. Coming out of the chute, though, he looked like he was going to break every record there was. He's only 32 home runs away from 400. And if he's healthy, that's very doable for him. If he gets to 400, he will be 59th all time in home runs. And that's pretty impressive. And he's still, I think he's playing in his 30, he'll be 33 this year, I believe. And if he hits 32 home runs, here's some of the names he will be passing up this year. Tony Perez,
Hall of
uh,
Famer.
yeah, Albert Bell, Jim Rice.
Hall of
I,
Famer.
every time I say Albert Bell, I almost start laughing because I have so many images going through my head. But yeah, Jim Rice, Larry Walker, Hall of Famer,
Hall of
Johnny
Famer.
Johnny Bench, and Al Kaline, all except Albert Bell, Hall of Famers. So he's getting up there. We're seeing this guy. I think if you are in Chicago, or Kentucky, or wherever the Angels are playing, get a chance to go see him play because he's going to be one of those guys that your grandkids will ask you about. And defensive, he's still a center fielder, plays one of the hardest positions in the league. And I just love the guy, and he's been a great face of baseball. Um, okay, 3,000 hits. We just had Pujols retire 2 years ago. Cabrera retired. So now we don't have who's on the projected to get up to 3,000 hits. It's going to be hard. And I don't know if we have anybody right now unless they're very young, but we only have two players in the major leagues right now over 2,000 hits. And their teammates, one is Freddie Freeman. Freddie's going to be 34 this year, and he's got 2,114 hits. I don't know, Vince. That's going to be pretty tough. I know he's kind of still at his peak right now, but to come up with 886 hits, ooh, I don't know. What do you think about that? You think he could have a shot at it?
I think he has a shot at it because Freddie Freeman, to me, is a baseball player.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's the type of player we used to say, he's not going to retire. You're going to have to rip the jersey off of him. I, as he gets older and he settles into a DH role, um, I can see him playing, a few more years and getting that outside shot. But because of his makeup, I think he does have a legitimate shot. There are some players you think, ah, probably not because they've made all this money and they're just going to retire. But he has that baseball player mentality that I want to keep competing until I can't anymore. So maybe.
And he's the type of guy, too, us being Cardinal and Cub fans, when we see him come up in the lineup, you're like, oh, man, Freddie Freeman. He could beat you. He can take it to the other field. He can, pull it. He's fast enough. He can get doubles. Um, man, he is a great ball player, and it's fun watching him play. The other player that's over 2,000 hits is, I'm sorry, I misread this. The other one over 2,000 hits is Altuve from the Astros, and he's a year younger, 33, and he's got 2,047 hits. So he's getting up there too. But man, what a hitter! And part of his game is his speed. I don't know. That's gonna be tough. But he's one of the greats. Oh, Altuve too. I've enjoyed watching him. I know they've got that little you know, history around him where the possible cheating and everything. But you were talking about Hack Wilson being a little guy. He make Altuve's one of the smaller baseball players too. Freddie
Two
Podtek.
4 inches.
Yeah, yeah. Seeing him next to Mike Judd or Aaron Judge, that's quite the picture. Seeing them two guys together. So baseball just has two guys over 2,000 hits, and it's Freeman and Altuve. Wins, 300 wins. We hear there's never going to be it may be a long time before we see another 300 game wins. I don't know if they even consider wins as important as they used to be, but right now there's four guys over 200 wins. Verlander with 257, but Verlander's 40 years old now, so I don't know
Yeah, I
about
don't see
that.
it.
Yeah, Greinke, who is, I guess he's still with the Royals. I'm not sure. I know he signed a 1 year contract last year, but he's at 225, but he's 39 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's quite what he used to be honest with you. Scherzer, who seems to be getting hurt every year. I hear now he's not going to be ready till the middle of the year to pitch for the Rangers. So the Rangers are going to have to do something with that starting rotation. But Scherzer's 214 wins, but he's 38 now and a lot of injuries. And finally, the fourth guy that's over 200 wins is Clayton Kershaw, who I hope stays with the Dodgers with 210 wins, but he's 35. You know, Kershaw's been around so long, Vince. I thought he was older than that, but he's only 35 years old.
Yeah, he see 20 when he debuted with the Dodgers. He was pretty young.
He was pretty young, threw a no hitter, always on it. And being with the Dodgers, I mean, you go out there and throw 6 innings and hold them 3 runs or less, you got a shot at winning because that offense, man, look out. It's going to be tough this year. So, but to get 90 more wins at the age of 35, I don't know. He's going to have to stick around a long time. We'll have to see. And then one of the premier pitcher, Cole from the Yankees, he's got 145 wins, but he's only 32. I mean, he's 32 years old. So I don't know if he can keep that up, but it doesn't look like anybody, who's been established has even a shot at 300 wins right now. It's going to take somebody really special and just stick around a long time and put up some numbers. So I don't know if we're ever going to see another 300 game winner. Another thing I was going to talk about was 3,000 strikeouts. Now that we can do because strikeouts are probably higher across the board than they have been in any era of baseball. 11th all time, Max Scherzer, 3,367 strikeouts. That's amazing. Max Scherzer, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer right there. Verlander, he's tied for 12th, and he's 3,342 strikeouts. So both of them have made it. The next two on the thing that are coming up, and they're both should get it this year. I don't know if you knew this. The 20th most strikeouts in baseball is Greinke, and he's got 2,979. He just needs 21, Vince. He should be able to get that this year. I'm
Yeah.
pulling for him. It's always nice to see somebody getting a 3,000 strike club. And the fourth guy is Kershaw, who again is 35 years old, 2,944. So he should get up there, and he's still a strikeout pitcher. So anyway, that's some things to look forward to this year. I was going to do a little Cub thing. This is a little Cub information. I know Max loves Nico Horner, and I'll be honest with you, after listening to you and him talk so much about Nico Horner, I've been really looking at statistics and seeing what kind of player. He's a fantastic player. Right now in Cub history, he's got 71 stolen bases. Oh, he's only played for the Cubs. He's 48th, and he's a young guy in Cub history. And he's between Sterling Castro, who has 75 stolen bases, and Alfonso Soriano, who has 70. So that's a little shout out there for Nico. He's making his way up in the Cub lore. And I tell you what, I hope that kid stays a Cub forever, and he'll be up there on, like Vince or Max said, Cub Mount Rushmore. He puts Nico Horner on his Mount Rushmore. I'm going to say maybe in a few more years. We'll see. But yeah, he's something special. That's for sure. And my last statistic, this is a neat statistic. One of the rarest things in baseball is a perfect game. And there has been 24 perfect games in baseball history. And one in the World Series, Don Larson, and that was 1956. But here lately, there's been more perfect games. In the 1800s, there was only two. But 7 of the 24 perfect games were thrown by Hall of Famers. And I'll read off their names if that's okay, because I love talking about the past and the greatness of baseball. But Cy Young has a perfect game. Eddie Jose, who played in the 1800s, had a perfect game. Jim Bunning, Sandy Koufax, Catfish Hunter, Randy Johnson, and Roy Halladay. Those are the 7 players with perfect games. But here's the stat I wanted to get to. There has been 12 would-be perfect games that the pitcher got 26 men out, and the final guy broke up their perfect games. That's got to be hard. I'm telling you what, if I was on the bench and I made it through 8 innings, I hope I wouldn't know. I just want to go out there and pitch my game. But of course, I know everybody be talking about it. But here's one for you, Vince. The last shot at a perfect game was 2015, and it was Max Scherzer. 26 men down. The last man was a pinch hitter named Josh Taubert. He hit him with a pitch, Vince. He hit him with a pitch.
Uh,
Oh man. And of course, me and you have mentioned this a few times on the show. There was a kid from Detroit, Arenado Galarraga, and
yeah.
he was, oh, and that blown call at first base. He had 26 minutes in a row down. I jumped up. I was celebrating for this kid, and it didn't happen. But because of that, and the umpire felt horrible. He was in tears. He apologized to him. I wish we had. I think that's one of the reasons we got replay to this day. But there's been 12
Yeah.
poor souls that made it 26 straight out, and one was a Cub. In 1972, Milt Pappas against the Padres had a perfect game going, and and in the ninth inning he walked Larry Stahl, and he lost his perfect game. Oh, so I just wanted to salute the perfect games and the oh so close perfect games right there. So, well, anyway, I thought that was a cool stat.
A couple things. You were talking about the 3,000 strikeout. Do you know who of course, Walter Johnson was the first player. Do you know who the second player to achieve 3,000 strikeouts was?
I'm going to say Bob Feller.
No, Bob Gibson
Bob Gibson was the second one.
in the 70s. That's how rare the
Wow.
strikeout was. And then since Gibson, we've had all these other
Oh
players hit
yeah.
3,000 and of course 4,000 and Ryan 5,000. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the strikeout has become a much bigger part of the game. Um, and which is, one of the reasons why we see more perfect games because there's just less contact with the ball. I remember from Catfish Hunter pitched his perfect game in like 68. The previous perfect game had been the 56 World Series Larson. Before that, you had to go back even like a decade further. So they were very rare. Then after Catfish Hunter, the next perfect game, I believe, was Lynn Barker in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
So it used to be a more rare thing, but with the more strikeouts that we have and players swinging a lot more freely, you're apt to see a few more perfect games. And, we're going to see a lot more 3,000 strikeouts, even though pitchers are pitching fewer innings.
Let me ask you a question, Vince. This is just like if you were the coach of the other team. If the other team is throwing a no hitter, uh, when would you not bunt? Because I've heard both ways. Like that's not the code of baseball. You don't bunt when a guy's got a no hitter going. But then I've heard other people say, "Hey, you do whatever you can to win. I don't care if it's the ninth inning. He's got a perfect game or no hitter. You go up there, you bunt. If you can leg it out, go." How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's one of those unwritten rules that I don't care for. Um, I remember when Bob Brenly was managing the Padres or the Giants, I think it was the Giants, and a Padre hitter bunted for a hit like the seventh inning to break up a no hitter, and he
Lost
threw a
it.
cussing fit. Um, but in my mind, you know, you used to do things in base or not do things in baseball that are commonplace anymore. Bat flips, the showing emotion. Um, those used to be against the unwritten rules. Um, and that's kind of eroded away. If it's a game situation, I, if 1-0 in the seventh inning, you're getting no hit, you're the first hitter, bunt, get on base.
Yeah.
You're still trying to win a baseball game.
Amen.
The individual accolades of like throwing a no hitter is so secondary to the game itself. That was one of the things that I didn't like about the home run chase in '98 was that the 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 actual games didn't matter anymore. You had people coming to the ballpark just to see this freak show of home runs. And there was a few years I quit going to baseball games because you know, after McGuire's last at bat, everybody would just spill out, even if the game was still tight or
You're right.
still a baseball game going on here. Um, So, yeah, bunt if you want to. I
But
as long as you're not breaking the rules, hitting trash cans, ejecting yourself or whatever, spitting on the ball, do it.
yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Um, I didn't have time to research this because I just got it when I went up to eat, which was I come down after I eat, I just come down and started this podcast. But I did see a headline that, um, and I don't have any of the details, that Amazon Prime is trying to buy the rights to broadcast local baseball games in the markets.
That'd be
That would
great.
mean that Amazon Prime would do the Cardinal games, which would be good because I was not going to pay for cable. I cut the cord in 2009, not going to pay cable to watch Cardinal games. Once they took them off of Sling and, you know, you're not going to force me into getting cable. So, and the Cardinal games are blacked out with my MLB.TV package that I have. So it's very tough for me to see Cardinal games. So I'm pretty excited, because I do have Amazon Prime. If that goes through, that I can watch some Cardinal games again. So, and Amazon Prime, the good thing about that is they got Amazon backing them up. So if they start broadcasting local baseball, even if they lose a little money, they're going to be
Yeah.
fine because the merchandise that they can sell on Amazon is going to be awesome. Ding dong. Do you just want to be on the podcast?
Yeah. He's a mascot.
See this right here? This is
Yeah.
he was bitten by another
Ooh.
kitty or something and it burst and it's pus, so he's on antibiotics. He's my favorite kitty. Um,
Mm.
and he's a huge Cub fan, aren't you,
Yeah.
buddy? Aren't you? Yeah. Um, so also I wanted to bring this up with the Cubs. You kind of brought it up a little bit with the Dodgers, and I wanted to kind of tie this together. Um, sorry. Um, I'm not, I don't see, I understand why the Dodgers did it. Um, but it's been documented that their pitching really doesn't have a margin for error, and why they're paying 25 million to a guy for 1 year who has never pitched enough innings to qualify for an ERA title, and he's been around for 7, 8 years now. Um, I think is ridiculous,
I do too.
especially if Shane Bieber's on the market, like everybody, all the reports say. I would I would ante up a few more prospects that would have went for that because that guy can eat innings, effectively eat innings, and that's what they need. They need that more than a Tyler Glasnow. And I think they were $30 million under the cap. It's not a cap, luxury tax threshold, the first one. And if they're paying him 25 million, they're right up next to it. So I can see the Dodgers hitting a lot of home runs, but I could see them having a tough time hitting 90 wins because the pitching is just old. Kershaw got nailed in the playoffs. Um, and I know he had a good year,
Yes. Yeah.
but he was also out with injury too.
A lot of
And
injuries.
yeah, I just don't know what they're going to do. So when it came out that Glasnow was available and that Bieber's also available because the Guardians have to cut payroll, I'd I'd rather give a little more and get Bieber, who I
I
trust a lot more with his health than it would be for Glasnow. Now the Cubs, a lot of fans are frustrated because there's not much movement. We didn't get Otani. Doesn't look like we're going to get Yamamoto. Didn't get Glasnow. You guys have had three free agent additions, and there are Cub
one
fans.
big one.
Look at the Cardinals are doing. We're not being aggressive. I'm not too worried about it because there's still Reese Hoskins. There's still Cody Bellinger. There's still Matt Chapman.
Yes.
There's still Bieber, who is, you know, a trade piece that the Guardians are shopping around. There's still Jordan Montgomery. There's still players out there, so I'm not that concerned about it.
Matt Carpenter. Yeah,
Matt Carpenter,
he's
someone's gonna
there.
someone's gonna give him a look.
No,
So
I just kidding. I love Matt Carpenter, but he's getting he's hanging in there. He's just barely hanging in there.
you know who else might get a look at spring training this year?
Oh, I'd love to have him in my bullpen anytime. Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connor. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. Welcome to our interview segment. This is so cool because JJ said, I got a guy who's a Cub fan. He lives in Kentucky. I know this guy. So I've actually known Jamaal longer than JJ has, but JJ probably knows Jamaal better than me. Is that fair to say?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Like we both met each other just once, I think.
Mm-hmm. Down in
Because
Paducah.
I met JJ at Silent Brigade, and then like you had mentioned before, we raised money for that building, the Pride building. Yeah, so yeah, we did that. So
Yeah, that was one of those shows when I did a show in Southern Illinois because I live in Missouri and I drive
mm.
back on those Southern Illinois things. All those weird documentaries I've seen on alien abduction and stuff comes to mind, and I start driving thinking, oh my gosh, an alien's gonna get me, or there's a Bigfoot around that tree gonna. So it's probably too much information for people who think I'm a fairly decent guy, but no, I have my weird quirks. So Jamaal, tell us, how did you become a Cub fan?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I'm a I guess you would say a 80s, but 80s, 90s, like 90s slash baby or whatever. So, like, you watch Sports Center, you watch Ozzie Smith doing flips, you watch Ken Griffey with the hat backwards and everything, with the sweet left-handed swing and everything. But I remember my granddad was always an Atlanta Braves fan. He always had it on TBS. And then one day it was WGN, and then all of a sudden one day it was White Sox, one day it was Cubs, and then I started hearing the guy appeared drunk. I was like, this guy's pretty funny, and it was Harry Carey. And then, like, I didn't know anything about a curse. I didn't know anything about a black cat. I didn't know anything. I was just like, they played a really cool ballpark, and they sing seventh inning stretch, and the announcer is just weird. I like this. I'm gonna be a Cubs fan.
You know, I was watching. This was in the early '90s. I was watching a Cub game, and they put on the screen strikeout leaders, and this is when Andy Benes was pitching for the San Diego Padres,
Okay.
and like number 3 just said Benes SD, and Harry said, and third is Benes from South Dakota. South Dakota. What have you been drinking, Harry?
The SD. That's vintage Harry Carey. That's why I loved him. That's why I loved him.
So
it's awesome.
You live in Kentucky, correct?
Yes, I live in Kentucky.
How many Cub fans are there in Kentucky? Because that's largely Cardinal territory.
It's more surprising than you think. There are, I'd say it's about 85-15, like 85, or you probably could say like 85-10-5, because there's also Braves fans here. Because see, I'm from Tennessee, but where I'm at in Kentucky, Tennessee and them, they're right on the state borders. So they're like right near each other. So it's either TBS or WGN, or what used to be WGN. Now it's like Marquee Sport Network and all that. So but yeah, it's bleeding red here. It's just Yeah, it's straight Cardinal country. Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
your pain.
Yeah, he's a Peebly. Yeah, it's Cardinals
Yeah.
country there. Well,
Yeah.
hey, I got a question for you, Jamal, and I want to say something great about you first. The
Sure.
first time I ever seen you, I didn't know if you were a comedian. You had this presence that you kind of took over the room. I could just kind of tell, and you had your Cubs stuff on. And I'm a Cardinal fan, and we didn't really say anything because we were both getting our mindset to go up. But
Right.
if you get a chance to see Jamal do comedy, he's fantastic. He controlled the room. I was like, man, this is what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be like you. So I think you're a fantastic comic. I really do.
Man, appreciate it. Hey, appreciate it. And by the way, you were so fun to watch too. And like me and you connected like really, really quickly. Like I mean, we went to the back, and all of a sudden we're just chopping it up. And then next thing you know, he's telling me, "Hey man, I got this podcast. It's like about Cubs and Cardinals and everything." I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "One day I'm gonna get you." And then like it didn't dawn on me because like I recently got a girlfriend and everything. And then all of a sudden I get in my DMs, "Hey man, you want to do the podcast? Hey, let's get on it right now." I'm like, "Heck
Oh,
yeah, man, let's go. Let's do it."
man,
So it's really cool.
yeah, I want to get the word out on you because I think you, man, you're going. I knew you before you hit it up to the big time. So
Oh man.
I'm thought about that. But I was going to ask you, getting to
Yeah.
know you, I feel like we're kindred spirits. Except I'm a Cardinal guy, you're a Cub guy, which is great. I just like people who like baseball. But
Right.
you're in a relationship with a lady, a very pretty lady, and she's a
Yes.
Cardinal fan. Now, how,
Yes.
how does that work out? Now, Vince is in the same situation. He's a
Oh, he
Cub
is?
fan. His wife's a big Cardinal fan. So
Oh
how
yeah.
do you can't rub it in too much? I mean, how does that work? Do you guys bet each other? Like, hey, I'll wash your car if the Cardinals win. How do you guys
Um,
work that out?
well, this is the first year that we've been in a relationship, and I will say that like it is true. Like if I win, I really lose, and if I lose, like I lose twice. So like it's one of those things. And matter of fact, we haven't made any side bets yet, but this year we went to a Cardinal Cubs game,
In
and it
St.
was the
Louis?
one where Mike Talkman robbed the home run
Yes.
for the game winner, and we were sitting right behind the Cubs dugout. So she got to hear all the Cubs celebrating and the Cardinal fans moaning as they thought they had won. The the best thing ever.
I'll never forget that game. I'll never forget that one. That was a great
Oh
catch.
man, that was
What a
great.
catch. Oh, I thought we had
Yeah.
it won. I was celebrating and it was like, oh, it was all
Oh, my
gone.
girl thought we had it won too, though. I mean, like everybody was celebrating. Then we were like, "He got it!" It's like, yeah. And then like, yeah, it was man. I got to wave. I got to wave the W. I got to fly the W. Oh, it was. It was amazing. Oh, it was amazing.
Oh man.
Well, let me tell you, in 2011, when the Cardinals won the World Series, my wife must have rewatched Game 6 and Game 7 20 times during the winter. I wanted to call my lawyer. I was like, I don't want to see this anymore. I am so sick of it.
You had to watch David Freese hit that home run and watch and hear Joe Buck saying
Oh, I
the
would go to
whole.
a different room. I just could not take it. So,
I mean, I can't deny. Game 6 was one of the best games I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, like that. If I'm gonna be objective, like it was an amazing game, but I don't see how Nelson Cruz didn't catch that ball. And I'm still mad to this day. I'm still mad to this day.
Lucky. We were lucky.
yeah, he was a stiff. So now you grew up, gravitated towards the Cubs because Harry WGN. When you were growing up, who were some of your favorite players?
Whenever I came in, it was Sandberg and Grace. That was like who you immediately went into, Sandberg and Grace, and then like literally the next year, Harry Carey dies, and then Sammy Sosa comes out of nowhere. I knew he was a good player, but Sammy Sosa just, and I'm doing this, I'm doing this, like I am. Baseball been very, very good to me. Like I'm doing all that, and I remember like Beck with his like mustache
Oh
closing
yeah.
out the wild card for the wild card against the Giants. Man, oh man, it was just so cool to watch this team. And then after that, that's when I started understanding about this curse that I didn't even know existed. And then um like you go to 2003, there was like Ryan Terrio. I loved him. I loved when Derek Lee jumped from the Marlins. I love Aramis Ramirez. I loved all of them. And then you go later on to Fukudome and like all of them. Like man, it was just Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood. Everybody used to say whenever I got bigger, I used to look like Carlos Zambrano if I ever got mad. That's what they would say. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are some of my guys growing up. Yeah, I loved it. Even Mickey Morandini. Thought he was pretty cool too, though. So yeah,
He was pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
They've
yeah.
had some great players. Well, it's Christmas time, and the Cubs have been on they're getting better, and every year they're progressing. Last year almost made the playoffs. So
Uh-huh.
they haven't made many moves yet this offseason. What is your Christmas wish? What would you like to see the Cubs do this year to kind of solidify the team a little bit there?
Is there any news on Belly yet? On Cody Bellinger? Is there
I
any
just
news yet?
rumors.
Rumors.
Give
Yeah.
him the money. Give Cody Bellinger the money. I mean, we already got a manager who has proven to do a lot with less. So I'm very curious to see what Craig Counsell does. And it's really, really exciting. You know, everybody's gonna play second fiddle to the Dodgers because of the Otani signing. But yeah, that's just crazy, $70 million. But yeah, but $70 million per season, but only getting two per season. But them
Don't
and
get don't get Vince started on that. He gets riled up when
like
you mention that
yeah, I know,
deferred
right?
payments.
Them and the Phillies, and I mean, there's so many teams. Like we got to see how this free agency, but really more than anything, re-sign Cody Bellinger, get some quality bullpen. I think we have enough arms in the starting to where you just get the right bullpen because that's what he did with Milwaukee. It would be like literally pitch 5, 6 innings, give two or three people an inning in there, and then all of a sudden it was like I know Bader's not on the team now, but that's what he would do, would close it out. That was his consistent formula. He kept getting to the playoffs. Now all of a sudden you got Swan, man, you got Justin Steele, man, you got so many people. Oh my gosh, yeah, like it's very very exciting. Like, and I'm loving that I get to see them build up and climb up as they go on. It's really nice.
We're all excited here. When I say we're all, I mean me. The
Yeah.
rest of the people surrounding me don't care about the Cubs,
Mhm.
but oh,
Right.
my son, who's frequently on the show, he's a huge Cubs fan too. So at least I have him in my corner. So
Right. Mm-hmm. Nico Warner. Yep. Hey, Nico Warner. Ian makes me happy. Yeah, like Ian makes me happy. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be a fun year. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I just got to see what else we're gonna sign though. And I hope, and I think I'm gonna go to Wrigley this year. So yeah.
do you make it up there too often?
Not too often. The last time I was there was opening 2017. I got to see them put the trophy on the like hold the trophy first time ever at Wrigley. So yeah, that was not a dry eye in sight. Everybody cried. Snot bubbles, just handkerchiefs, everything you can name. And it was all the most beautiful part about it was it wasn't like what you usually will see, just like, hey, let's take the whole family out. Little kids don't know what they're looking at. It was like granddads and great granddad were like, we never thought we'd see this. It was so cool. And then there was a rain out, and then David Ross was on Dancing with the Stars, and we're all voting for him at the same time as the rain delay. Oh man, and then we won on a walk off from Rizzo. Perfect day, perfect night. It was amazing. Straight amazing. Do you make it to Wrigley often?
Uh, Not a whole lot. I try to make it every couple of years. Didn't make it this past year. Plan on going this year. Went 2 years ago. Try to make it out there. It's a lot of fun.
I was
It's
in the Navy at Great Lakes, so I would take the train down and walk a couple miles out to where the Wrigley is. And I didn't wear any of my Cardinal stuff. I stayed neutral. I was undercover, but I did get to see the Cardinals clinch the division in '87, and that was pretty cool. And I would walk around the ballpark and just it's changed a lot. I haven't been up. The last game I went to, it was a Reds Cubs game, and I like Chicago because the Brewer fans come in, the Reds fans, the Cardinal fans go up.
Mm.
It's a great atmosphere for a game, and I kind of feel like I'm on holy ground. Like this is the field that Ernie Banks played on, and Stan got his 3,000th hit, and all this kind of stuff, all the history of that area. And the kids stand out there in the street and try to get the home runs that go over there. I'd like to see a game on the rooftops. That's a dream of mine to sit on the rooftops. So maybe down the line we can take a 5-day weekend and go up there and do some open mics and hit a couple of games and sit on the rooftops. That would be fun.
That would be awesome. I would love that. And I want to do one of those beer snakes they have in left field. I want the beer snake. I want to see the beer snake. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
It's got to be like $10,000 or something. The amount of beers. It's $9 a beer, man. That's an expensive beer snake.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I've shared this story before on here, but when I was in the Navy, they were closing the field down for winter, and they had the wagon gate open in right field, and I just walked on the field like I owned the place, and I stood on the spot that Andre Dawson played in right field, and I took some pictures of me by the ivy, but they ran me out of there when I was starting to warm up in the bullpen. I took some pictures of me warming up in the bullpen, and they said, "Get out of here," and I crept out of there. But I was on the field in Wrigley.
That is awesome. That is so
I got
awesome.
pictures.
Man, I'm jealous. That's dope. That's dope. Man, that is so
the last
cool.
time I was at Wrigley, I was in the restroom and it had the wanted poster of you, wanted for trespassing in the 80s. Still looking for him. So
Hey, the trip might be this year to make is to Milwaukee. And I'm going to tell you something. I went up there and I said, "You guys like the Cardinal fans or hate the Cardinal fans?" I said, "No, we ain't got a problem with them." I said, "What about the Cub fans?" They said, because evidently all the Cub fans go up there, just take over. And to park, it's $20. But the day the Cubs come to town, it's $40 to park. They really they are taking this time. And now you got council. Oh, it's going to be crazy.
it's Wrigley North.
That's a new rivalry. Yeah, Wrigleyville North. That's what it is. Wrigley North, baby. Wrigley North.
Oh man.
But yeah, but the crazy thing is, growing up as a Cubs fan, I didn't know that I wasn't even supposed to like the Cardinals because the McGuire Sosa thing, because everybody was so friendly. And then after that, I got a rude awakening. I just never understood why they hated us so much. I don't understand it. We never did anything.
No, I've always just like people who like the game and people who have enthusiasm. When I met Vince, he was on the defensive. I said, no, I'm all, hey, that's cool. I'm just like baseball. And then he let his guard down, and we've been buddy ever since.
Yeah, because when you go ahead.
I was going to say when you grow up in St. Louis, you just hear so much of it. And I used to repost them on Facebook. All the Cub jokes the Cardinal fans sent me, just reposted. Okay, I'm just going to lean into it a little bit. And I thought it was funny how after 2016, a lot of that just kind of went away.
Oh yeah, they kind of kept their mouths shut. Those folks. That's true.
Oh yeah. You you could. Oh, the amount of times I heard 1908. The amount of times. Now the number is now 11-3. That's the new number that I hear now. It's like Cardinals 11 rings, Cubs 3 rings. Like you started hearing stuff like that. But yeah, we needed 2016. We needed it bad. Yeah.
Well,
Change everything.
congratulations. That was great baseball. And hey, there's a cat walking across there. Oh my gosh, we got an invasion. But I, as a Cardinal fan, there's a lot of Cubs I love. A lot of Cubs and Cardinals have been played on both teams. But my favorite Cub of all time might be Sean Dunston. He had a cannon for an arm. Is there a Cardinal that a few Cardinals that you've enjoyed over the years that you like to watch play?
Well, I didn't know he was going to be a future Cub, but I used to love Jim Edmonds, especially whenever like I remember him on the Angels and seeing him doing those fantastic diving basket catches and everything. Edmonds, the first actually baseball player I ever loved was really Ozzie Smith because like I'd see him do the backflips and then all of a sudden they'll say he's the wizard because of his defense and all that. And you hear the go crazy, folks, go crazy
Jack
after
Buck.
he hit the playoff home run and all that. Let me think who else. I think there was Ray Langford. I like Ray Langford. I thought he was a really good, really underrated player.
I agree.
Really underrated player. Yeah. And then of course Molina, even though he cheated because he had sticky goo on his chest protector, that's the reason why the ball stuck to him. And
I can't deny it. I can't deny it.
Yeah, and Albert Pujols. And by the way, I bought tickets for Albert Pujols' last game, regular season game, so I could witness history. And he hit a home run that day. And I did that just because of baseball, just to pay homage, because I have respect for y'all. I just can't like y'all because of what Murray, Kentucky has put me through.
I understand.
That's where I stand. I appreciate the Cardinals. I have certain players that I really like. If it wasn't for the Cubs, I'd want them to win all the time. I'm happy when my wife's happy and they're winning. But the stuff I've been through has kind of made me jaded. You know, I'm always on the defensive. I think my favorite moment as a Cub fan was not when we won the World Series. It was the year before when we beat the Cardinals in the playoffs.
In the NLCS. Yeah,
I was
NLDS. Yes.
And I was at my in-laws watching that final game, and they were all huge Cardinal fans. And I couldn't properly celebrate because I didn't want to offend them. But inside, I'm jumping up and down, telling everybody from my little grade school friends at Blair School in the 1970s through all the people in high school and college and in my work career. It was the big, screw you, we've knocked you out of the playoffs. You've never done that to us. So
yes, I literally was by myself and I was screaming in that, and I could see that Cardinals fan in the red jacket with the white diamonds with the fedora, and I'm like, take that! It's like, I hope you paid good money to watch your team lose. Like this, I guess it was like the Red Sox beating the Yankees when they came back from 3-0. It felt the exact same way. I'm totally in agreement with you. Totally in agreement. Yeah.
That moment felt like there was a changing of the tide. I didn't think I really wanted the Cardinals to win, but I didn't feel it in my heart. When you guys won it, and you got Joe Madden, and you had that nucleus of a great team. You guys owned us for about 4 or 5 years after that, and we just gave you our best effort. But that was your. I mean, that was a great time for Cub baseball, and if we got a few wins in there, we were pretty happy with that. But that was a great team you had there.
Yeah, like it. Oh my gosh, like it just felt good to like walk around Murray and see the Cup and just walk with your head high and just like they see that C and you're just like, yeah, you know who we are. Yeah, you know. You can't say anything right now. Like it felt good. It felt like we had finally beat the bully, like on A Christmas Story. Like we finally did it. Finally.
Yeah. JJ, you all are Scott Farkas.
Yeah.
We are Ralphie.
You're Ralphie. We took a beating. Yeah. You beat it out of us. You knocked our raccoon hat off, man.
Yep. Yeah. Like he know. Like, all right, let me ask you this. So, like, before 2016, when Cardinals fans got on you, what did you used to say back, like to them? Like, how would you respond to them?
Oh, I had a great response.
Okay.
Shut up. And tears would flow. That was about it. Very first baseball game I went to, 1978. My friend's dad had tickets, and they were box seats, and we were right in front of the bullpen, like 4 rows up. And we went down during the game because Albert Bosky is just leaning on a chair, and we tried to talk to him. And his daughter, who was maybe 5 at the time, said he can't talk during a game. And me and my friend said, "What?" Because we went, she started talking to us, and we didn't comprehend what she said. And then Al turned around and said, "I'm sorry, I can't talk during a game. I can't sign an autograph during the game." And we went, okay. So I really liked Al Bosky from then on. He was like my favorite Cardinal, and I liked his antics on the mound and everything. But Al Bosky had a radio show in St. Louis for years, and at least once every quarter, he would read that story. Since the Cubs have won the World Series, the wheel was invented, the electricity was invented, communists came and fell, all this other stuff, And Al, you were my hero when I was little. Don't do this to me again.
Man, like, I know JJ won't know about this because he's like I said, he's very respectful and everything. But the
Thank you.
things I used to hear of, and I was just like, why of all teams do you hate the Cubs? It makes no sense. And like I would always say this, and even though like I don't wish this on anybody, I don't wish it on anybody, nothing like that, because I think I'm a very peaceful guy. But I was just like, every time one of your pitchers died, we canceled the game because
That's
it was
right.
always during the Cubs game. It was Daryl Kyle
Yes.
and it was somebody else. It was
I know
John
Josh
Hancock.
Hancock. Yeah, Josh Hancock.
Hancock,
that's
yeah,
right.
Hancock, yeah. Both times, it was us. We canceled the game
That's
out of
right.
respect.
That's true.
Take day off. Yeah, man, we felt bad.
Yeah,
Literally, like, and then when Ernie Banks died, we honored Oscar Taveras the same day. We did our most
oh,
beloved Cub.
yeah.
We honored Oscar Taveras because apparently him and his girl died in a car crash or something like
That's
that.
right.
But yeah, I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no reason to hate us.
Oh, no. Hey, it's a great atmosphere when both teams play, and I give the Cub fans a lot of respect. Even if they don't have a winning year, the fans show up, they support their team, they love their players, and that's really what it's all about. I'd love to see I want the Cardinals to win the World Series every year. It's not realistic, but I want them to. But I'd love to see the Reds and the Pirates kind of get the fandom that the Cardinals and the Cubs have, because that's good baseball cities, and it's just good for baseball. There's so many Reds and Pirate players I like too. I want to beat them, but if they beat us, I tip my cap. And there's always tomorrow. There's
I've
always
heard nothing but good things about PNC Park, and it looked like the Pirates were like they started off on fire. I thought it was going to be Jolly Roger Central all over again. Then all of a sudden, the Reds they came out of nowhere, and Ellie De La Cruz, that young nucleus of stars, Joey Votto was bringing his veteran presence and everything. Then all of a sudden, it seemed like it was a different team. Last year, it was just crazy. I wonder if it's going to happen again. Because it's pretty, man. It's crazy that division. And Milwaukee, they're going to have something to say since their manager left. It's personal. It's definitely personal.
Well, we're going to have to take off here, but a couple of things. Number one, love the yellow Cub hat. That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
very nice.
Number two, people may not know this, but you are a close personal friend of Charles Barkley, correct?
Really?
Can you tell that story real quick? Because it's my favorite story. I don't want to take any of your stage thunder away. This is a great story.
All right. JJ, whenever I tell you this, like you're not gonna believe this, okay?
Okay, I know I'm there.
Okay, so it was March 2nd, 2017. I'll never forget that date.
Okay.
So on inside the NBA, you can tweet the show. You can tweet, all of them, right, or whatever. So
Okay.
I had tweeted so many tweets to that show. I've been tweeting and tweeting, all positive things, all great things. And then all of a sudden, like I was like, it would never go on the air. And I was like, you know what? I bet you I could say the meanest thing I could possibly say. And I bet you it still wasn't there. So they're about to go into halftime. I know him and Kevin Garnett are going to talk about something about skinny jeans. There was a replay that took a long time, and so I tweeted, "This replay takes longer than Charles Barkley fit in a pair of skinny jeans." And you saw how big I am. I can't talk about people being big and fitting in skinny jeans. I can't even fit in skinny jeans. So obviously I wasn't being serious, right? I hit send and I go to sleep because I got to drive to Memphis the next day. I wake up, my Twitter icon says 97. I don't know why the number says 97. I click on it, and all of a sudden I start scrolling. It's like, yo, Charles Barkley ate you. Oh my God, he got you good. Oh my God. So when you get off here, go on YouTube, type in Charles Barkley cashier. See,
Okay.
I had just started comedy, and I didn't know if I wanted to go by my name, Jamaal Gardner, or kind of like Cedric the Entertainer, Larry the Cable Guy. I work at a grocery store, and at the time, I was a cashier. I was like, cashier sounds nice, so I was Jamaal the cashier. They put my tweet on the air, and when Ernie read it, all you hear is Charles Barkley saying, "Hey, well, first of all, Jamaal, you a cashier, so shut the hell up." And then he said, "A dude can't be a cashier." It just roasted me for 2 minutes. And then they put Charles Barkley's head on a cashier body and they wrote, "I suck, I'm a cashier." But it doesn't stop there. So every one of my comedy friends is clowning me for this, but they were like, "Hey man, you got a Charles Barkley impression. Why don't you tag it to your Twitter profile?" So I did. 4 years later, Bleacher Report calls. No, some two people call. Their names are Ryan Franks and Scott Nickley. They're like, "Hey, we're shooting a pilot for something for Bleacher Report. We see you do a Charles Barkley impression. Can you do it for us?" So they take me to Nashville. I shoot the pilot, whatever. Now all of a sudden, I've done 3 projects with Bleacher Report as Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley doesn't know it. He still doesn't know it. I wish he would. But yeah, it was like, "Hey man, let's tell you something. Hey man, a dude can't be a cashier, man. That's terrible, man."
You do a great impression of him, by the way. That's great.
Oh, it's spot on. It's spot on. Well, Jamaal,
hey man, I love y'all, man.
We want to thank you for your time. We'll have you back on again. This has been great.
Great.
Yes.
Good luck. Are you going to be anywhere? Got any shows coming up the next few weeks?
No. Right now, nothing's happening right now. Like I said, I'm kind of on the inconsistent thing right now, but I'll get on soon, and then I'll get back on my regular mojo. But like right now, like I'm just kind of laying back, and that means nobody's booking me. That's all that means.
I know what it means. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, JJ. Appreciate it.
Take care, buddy.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Jamaal, great. Funny. I love the Charles Barkley story.
Oh man, his impression is spot on, like you said.
Dead on. Well, JJ and I, we were going to continue our series of talking about the 5 greatest blanks that we have seen during our lifetime. We've done left-handed starters, right-handed starters, and we are going to go with the closers. Man. Were you like me when you started looking at this? There's been like 50 great closers in my life.
Yeah.
And when you talk about guys that are really good, you can put that into triple digits. There's been some awesome closers. And to narrow this down to just a few was tough. So I don't think we're going to, I think our number one's probably going to be the same, but I think
our number 2 of it.
leeway after that. So I think my number two is kind of a surprise. So how many did you do?
Well, I got about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I actually have 9, and I still don't have exactly who I want my top 5. But I well, first of all, who's the greatest? And then second of all, who are you a fan of? Who did you enjoy the most? There's
Yeah.
a there's kind of a thing there. And some guys you say, well, you can't put Auerbowski in your top 5. I do love Auerbowski, and I can't put him in my top 5, but I do love Auerbowski. So there's so many. And I'm going to say something, Vince. The Cardinals, the bullpen, the closer's really kind of been a big thing since, I'm going to say 68. It's kind of like when the closer, there was always the bullpen, but as far as this is the closer, this is the job, it's about, I'm going to say like 1968. And the Cardinals have been blessed with some great closers through the years, some just a year, like Tom Hinkie. And I loved him. I wanted him to come back, and Isringhausen and Lee Smith and Bruce. I mean, there's just a lot of great relievers. Helsley, I even like Helsley to this day. I won't put him in my top 4 or 5, but we've been blessed with some good closers through the year. We've shared a lot of, the Cubs and the Cardinals have shared a lot of great closers too. Mott and Mike Perez. I mean, some of those guys. A lot of guys have been on both teams, have been our closers, and of course, 2 of the ones that may be on our list. I didn't want to say the names out loud, but yeah, we've had a lot of great closers through the years.
Well, why don't we do our top 5,
Sure.
and then before we do number 1, we'll mention our honorable mentions. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You go first. You go first.
At number 5, I have Aroldis Chapman. And he has pitched 14 years. He has a WAR of 20.4, a career ERA of 2.53, 321 saves, and 1.08 WHIP. He's a little on the downside of his career, but he had a little bit of a bounce back this year. And the criteria I used was not necessarily are they my favorite, but the guys that I hated to see come in at the end of the game when they were playing the Cubs. So Chapman is my number 5.
Love Chapman. Everywhere he's went, he's come through. He's a stud, and I do hate seeing him. When he pitched, they'd always put like 103 up in the corner, and you see that fire coming off the numbers. You're like, oh my God, 103 miles an hour. How do you hit that?
And then that slider, it's like, geez, it's unfair.
Oh, it's unfair. It's unfair. And he's so good when he doesn't come through, you're like shocked. Like, what?
Oh yeah.
Because he's right. Like, he's 19 out of 20, he'll get you. 19 out of 20, he'll get you. Well, my number 5, and of course I'm looking through Cardinals' eyes, but this guy is a Hall of Famer. I put Bruce Sutter. And I'm going to say this: when he was with the Cubs, I was like, oh my gosh, Bruce Sutter, let's just get ahead of him. And they can't bring Sutter into the game. Bruce Sutter was kind of I mean this complimentary. He was a freak of nature. They brought him in the 7th inning sometimes. And I remember our catcher, Ted Simmons, incredible player, Hall of Famer. He could hit anybody. That split-fingered fastball would come in, and Simmons just kept creeping up in the batter's box. Well, then he'd throw his fastball and get it past Simmons, but he couldn't hit the split finger. It would just drop off the table. And we got him. I couldn't believe it. It was so much fun watching this guy. His record wins and losses was 68 and 71. I think he started out as a starter early in his career. 300 saves right on the dot, a 2.83 lifetime ERA, 6 All-Star games, 1 Cy Young, a reliever that got the Cy Young. And he was
With
on
the Cubs.
Yes, with the Cubs. Hey, I love those old Cub cards with Bruce Sutter. He kind of, he wasn't like, you look at Bruce Sutter, you didn't say that guy's an athlete. I mean, he had the big beard, his hair was kind of unkept. Man, he had that weapon, and that just revolutionized the game. A lot of guys started throwing the split finger after that, but none as good as Bruce Sutter. So he played 12 seasons. He played with the Cubs, Cardinals, and finished his career with the Atlanta Braves. But I still say there was probably like 6 years there, 3 with the Cubs, 3 with the Cardinals, where he was the best. He was absolutely the best. So my number 5 is Bruce Sutter.
Hey, my number 4 wore a Cub uniform. wore a Cardinal uniform, wore an Oakland uniform, Cleveland uniform, and a Boston uniform. I think that's all of them. Dennis Eckersley. Eck pitched 24 years, and he had a career WAR of 62.1. That's very high for a reliever, but most of those were not as a reliever because closers, they always have a lower WAR than position players and starting pitchers. But as a start in his career, he was 197, 171 with a 3.5 ERA, and a 1.16 WHIP. But out of the bullpen, where he really made himself into a Hall of Famer, he saved 390 games, had an ERA of 2.85 and a WHIP of 0.99. Imagine if he was a closer for his whole career, he would have held every record for closers in the books. But all those years as a starter, and he was a successful starter. 120 games. He he almost pitched back-to-back no-hitters once. Came one out within behind Johnny Vandermeer's back-to-back no-hitter record. So he was a very good starting pitcher, but when he went to the bullpen, that's when he became a Hall of Famer. And I have him at number 4. He didn't throw hard, but pinpoint control and did not walk people.
I can't argue, man. That guy was great. I loved him. Well, my number 4, I love the guy, but to me, Raleigh Fingers. Love Raleigh Fingers. And first of all, he's known the iconic mustache, the handlebar mustache. He looks like he should be in a barbershop quartet. He pitched in big games. He was a part of those Oakland A's, the Charlie O. Finley Oakland A's in the early 70s, where they all kind of came up together, and it was a star-studded team, and they just rolled over other teams. And that was back in that was a rough time period. But he was a closer. He held that team together. Fantastic career there. When the team kind of dismantled, he went to San Diego. San Diego wasn't really good, but he made a lot of all-star appearances. And then for one afternoon, he was a St. Louis Cardinal. He came over to trade, and Whitey, the mad scientist, sent him up to Milwaukee. What you want to trade is to benefit both teams, and it did. We've got some players, they got some players, and both teams ended up meeting in the World Series. But Raleigh Fingers was hurt, and I really think, and the Brewers had never been in the World Series. I think if Fingers had been healthy, that could have been a different turnout. So Cardinals got that World Series, but I'm telling you what, they were not the favorites in that. And when Raleigh got hurt, that really hurt the Brewers' chances. He played 17 seasons. He was a 7-time All-Star. He won a Cy Young and an MVP. So Raleigh Fingers, what a player. Love that guy. I got to meet him once at a card show, and he's a good guy too. So my number 4, Raleigh Fingers.
Very good. My number 3 pitched 16 years and should be a Hall of Famer, and hopefully he will make it within the next few years. He has a 27.7 WAR. He won 47 games, lost 40. ERA of 2.31, and he saved 422 games, had a WHIP of 1 even. And I am talking about that left-hander that was 5'10", pitching for the Houston Astros, Billy Wagner. Yes, every time he came into the game, I knew it was over, especially if we had a left-hander coming up. Wasn't going to hit him. And like I said, my main criteria is when I watched the game and this guy came in, I thought, oh, wow, it's over. And Billy Wagner comes in at number 3, 16 years, great pitcher, and certainly deserving Hall of Famer, and his numbers stack up really well and even better than a lot of the relievers that are in the Hall of Fame, like Bruce Sutter, for example. So,
yeah. Well, my number 3, and everybody, oh, you're a Cardinal fan, but this guy played for everybody. And I think he played for everybody because he was in such demand. Played for the Cubs, played for the Cardinals. I'm talking Big Lee Smith. And Lee didn't hurry for anything. When he got called out of that bullpen, he lumbered in there. Giant of a man. and he just threw, I mean, heat, and was successful with every team he played for. 478 saves. He played. Uh, let's see. He played. I had it written down how many years he played. Played for a lot of teams. He had um, 3 straight seasons of 100 plus innings, um, which is kind of unheard of. He led the league 4 times, and he was a 7-time All Star. And I just love Lee Smith. I always thought, man, when Lee comes in the game, it's over. And he was successful. I know he played for Boston, was all over the place, and just had a nice long career. And what a nice guy. So I put my number 3, Lee Smith.
Very good. At number 2, I have a player, much like Chapman, who is still active. He is clearly on the downside of his career. But I would make an argument that therefore about a 6-7 year period, he was even more dominant than my number 1. And he's still a closer today, has to work a little harder at it. But Craig Kimbrell has pitched 14 years, 23.5 WAR. He has a 2.40 ERA, 417 saves, and a WHIP of 0.99. Kimbrell throws hard, and he's got the most wicked breaking ball. And his goofy stance as he's peering into the catcher for the signs is iconic, and that's not why he's my number 2. But even today, when I see him come into a game, I know he's a lot more hittable than he was. But somehow he just keeps managing. You think he's done, he gets off the canvas and he has another decent season. But during his prime, he was unhittable, the Atlanta Braves. So Craig Kimbrell, my number 2.
All right, my number 2, and it's Trevor Hoffman. And I'm going to say this about Trevor Hoffman. Trevor Hoffman brought theatrics into baseball. I don't know if it's his idea or the Padres' idea. You know, he's a lifetime Padre, but when they used to open up the gate, they would play Hell's Bells by AC/DC. The place would just erupt. And, you know, we were mentioned wrestling earlier in the show. The Freebirds, the Fabulous Freebirds would come out to Leonard Skinner's Freebird, and then that kind of caught on at the time. I guess there was no copyright laws back in the 70s, but Trevor Hoffman would come out to Hell's Bells by AC/DC. They would start dimming the lights and everything, and since then you see a lot more of that kind of thing going on in baseball. But Trevor Hoffman has over 600 saves, 601. When I think of the San Diego Padres, I think, 1, I think of Tony Gwynn, and 2, I think of Trevor Hoffman. Um, he led the league twice. He had 9 seasons of 40 plus saves. And while he was on the team, they did go to the World Series. And he was a big part of that. And that's when they ran into the juggernaut that was the Yankees and Derek Jeter back in those days. But you know what? What a player. I really always enjoyed Trevor Hoffman, and he is one of the all-time greatest San Diego Padres as well.
Before I mention my number 1, or as we shall say, the obvious number 1, I will go through 3 honorable mentions that I did have. Honorable mention, I had Suter, and you've already read the statistics. And the reason I don't have him higher is because he had a short career. He pitched 12 seasons. His last few seasons in Atlanta were battling injuries, and he just didn't have it anymore. But Suter, the older guys are a little bit harder to quantify because Suter's ERA was like 2.83, but you know, if he's coming in to get 9 outs, there's a lot more opportunity for, you know, his arm to get a little tired and then to get a few more hits or maybe a run or 2 off of him. But there was those few years when he was with the Cubs, first couple years with the Cardinals, I thought it's over when he's in. But he just didn't sustain it long enough to crack my top 5. I also have Trevor Hoffman as an honorable mention. You just mentioned him. My only beef, when I say these are honorable mentions, I mean I would have them up in the top five. I kept redoing this list. The
Yeah.
only thing I kept thinking about Trevor Hoffman was that he didn't seem to have any big moments.
Right.
Um, he was just he pitched for a mediocre team. He racked up a lot of saves. He compiled a lot of numbers. It's not his fault that the Padres were usually uh, mediocre at best. But when I think about defining moments, I think about Eckersley, Chapman, Billy Wagner pitching in the playoffs big time, Kimbrel, um, Suter, Hoffman. I just couldn't like pinpoint that special moment, so I dropped him out into the honorable mention. And my last honorable mention is the Goose, Rich Gossage.
I love Goose.
22 seasons, 41.2 WAR, 3.01 ERA, 310 saves, and 1.23 WHIP. A lot of those poor numbers, a lot of his numbers are skewed because the last few years he just wasn't Rich Gossage anymore. But the Goose was in that same era as Suter, and he would pitch multiple innings, and he did benefit from pitching for a very good New York Yankees team. Um, but in today's world, I don't think he's nearly as an effective closer as he was because he had one pitch that was a fastball that would sit at 97, 98, and now that's everybody out of a bullpen. So his numbers are, kind of helped by the generation he was in. So those are my honorable mentions. And my number one, of course, is Mariano Rivera. This is unreal. You've heard the wars I've read. His WAR as a closer is 56.3. Uh, that's unreal. 82 wins, 60 losses, 2.21 ERA, 652 saves, a whip of one even. And man, he was gold during the World Series. But my favorite moment was when they were playing the Diamondbacks and Mark Grace is up, and I'm thinking Gracie is going to get a hit off of him, and he kind of jammed him, but Gracie muscled the ball in the outfield, and then the Diamondbacks beat him for the World Series championship. So, but other than that, his postseason record was stellar. So that's my number one.
I have a few honorable mentions as well. Jeff Reardon. Again, he doesn't have one of those iconic moments in time, but I think he's one of the most underrated great relievers. A lot of young people don't even know who he is. He bounced around because he was in demand. He was very good, but a lot of the teams he was on, I don't think they were just mediocre, as you say, mediocre teams, but he was a very good reliever. Uh, Francisco Rodriguez put up a lot of saves, and he has some great numbers. 2.86 ERA, played for 16 seasons, and had four straight 40 plus save seasons. A fantastic reliever. And of course, I put Dennis Eckersley too, because that guy just went out and did his job, successful wherever he went. And of course, a lot of people remember the Kirk Gibson home run, but you can get 20 saves in that one time, but that's one of those moments. But this guy didn't walk anybody. His strikeouts to walks was incredible. He had about four great pitches, sliders. He'd move the ball around, fantastic. And Goose Gossage, anytime you see a baseball card of him, and the thing is, Goose would take the ball. He pitched all the time. They just put him in there, and he'd go out there and pitch and give you everything he had. If you see an old baseball card of Goose, he's almost coming off the mound, and his body's just torquing, and he's just letting that ball fly. If you like mano y mano. Now, Goose was cranky. He was like John
He
Lackey
still
cranky,
is.
and he's even crankier in retirement. But I love him. I love him. I take him on my team anytime. Uh, but oh shoot, I thought I had that thing silenced. I'm so sorry. But my number one as well is Mariano Rivera, and leads all time in saves in postseason. 9 seasons with 40 plus saves. And when you think of that Yankee dynasty, it's like They've got so many great players, but it's Jeter, and then I think of Mariano Rivera. To be honest with you, that's the next one I think of. And I think he was when he was coming up, he couldn't control that slider, and then it just moved so much. Then they used it. They just had him go ahead and use that, and you knew it was coming, and you couldn't hit the thing. It was amazing. So I love Mariano Rivera, number one, and Hall of Famer, and he deservedly so.
And when I was going through these relievers, there was some that, this guy was great for, you know, 2, 3, 4 seasons. And, so thinking about like Bobby Thigpen and
Oh,
Rob
yeah.
Nen and Matt Harvey,
Oh, yeah.
just Mitch Williams, guys that just were so great for a short period of time. But that's a testimony to how demanding that job as a closer is, because when you're a closer, every pitch is important. It's hard to put that kind of strain on your arm, because when you're a starter, you kind of fall into a groove, yeah, there are times, you're up 8-2. It's not a stressful inning. When you're a closer, you're coming in when the game's on the line every night. You've got to be on mentally, physically, and just saw a lot of closers. At least I saw a lot of closers that, wow, Jim Kern,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
now
Oh, Jim
these
Curry.
guys that were so good. Gary Lavelle, Greg Minton, guys that were so good for a short period. We throw Al Raboski in there.
Gene Garber. I used to love the
Gene Garber.
corkscrew. He did
Yeah.
that little corkscrew move. Phenomenal, but just that short window of greatness right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Steve Bedrosian, talk about another Brave.
Oh,
He had a few
yeah.
years as a closer where he was a Cy Young candidate, but it's just so hard to maintain a great career when you're throwing that kind of pressure every time you're doing your job. So
A rare one that gets kind of overlooked was John Smoltz. There at the end of his career, top-notch reliever. And I mean, he could have piled up the starting numbers, but he went and helped the team and became the closer.
didn't he save like 50 games one year?
I believe so. And he's got a lot of saves for that short amount of time he was the closer.
So JJ, what are you opening?
Well, I bought a whole big old box of these Series 2 2023s with Aaron Judge on them. So that's what I'm opening tonight. Got another pack of those.
I'm doing Topps 1992,
Ooh,
and I have to
92.
do this one-handed because Bing Bong is asleep on my lap, and
Well,
I'm such a sucker for cats.
oh, bing bong. Want me to go first? Maybe she'll move by the time I get done.
Go ahead and go first because I'm trying to unwrap these one-handed, and if they take.
Well, the tops this year have these nice chrome cards of all stars, stars at MLB, and every team's represented. And here is the Cleveland Guardians, Oscar Gonzalez. He's in the swing mode right there. Those are nice. I don't know. I think those cards are about 50 cents a piece if you went out and bought them. The Brewers, an outfielder, Garrett Mitchell. I've been playing at RBI baseball, and I was playing as the Brewers. So this guy, I think, came up with some big hits for me. So now I'm a fan. Dodger catcher. I don't think he's with the team anymore. I think Austin Barnes. Did he get moved? He's a backup catcher for the Dodgers.
It
Did he
sounds
get
like
signed?
sounds familiar that he got moved.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, this guy here. This year, he really made a name for himself. The Texas Ranger third baseman, Josh Young,
Yeah.
Jung, I believe is how you pronounce it. What a season this kid had. And watch out for him. It looks like he's going to have a nice career ahead of him if he stays healthy. Uh, Kansas City Royal, I do not know this guy. I'll be honest with you. Cal Isabel, an outfielder from the Kansas City Royals. But they have a young team, and now they got some veterans on there. They'll be a fun team to watch coming up this year. Outfielder for Arizona, Jake McCarthy. I don't have any stories with him. I like that picture, though. Tops did a great job with this set, by the way. Some very good pictures. You got the face down here at the bottom. Got a few more here. Uh, Let's see. Louis Barland, a pitcher for the Twins. Hmm, no, don't ring any bells.
No,
No. Let's see here. Yoan Mikado from the White Sox.
Jan Mikado. Yeah.
Mikado, he's an up and comer right there. This guy's been around a long time. He's with the Cincinnati Reds this year. Will Myers. That
Yeah.
guy's been a lot of places. Very good player. I hope he gets on with somebody this year. Oh man, every team's got guys. You say, oh, we needed who we needed at the time, but the Arizona pitcher Zach Gallen. Oh
Yeah.
man, I hate to have him gone, but at the time he was a double-A pitcher. A lot of a lot of potential. Okay, this guy here from the Mets, Adam Ottavino. He's had a nice career. When he was at the height of his career, I think with the Yankees, he said if Babe Ruth batted against him, he would never get a hit against him. Well, I don't know about that anymore. Maybe that one year he might have got the Babe. And they do these 2023 had these cards that look like older cards. And this player from the Orioles is DL Hall. Do not know him, but I like that card. That's a nice card. It's a retro card right there.
That's some nice hair.
And yeah, as a bald person, I notice hair very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the back of the card even looks like it did back in that year, particular year. So that's it for my set, for my pack right there.
Okay. Bing bong, buddy.
Bing Bong loves you.
Oh, he's a big baby. All right. I think I've got both hands free now. All right. Let's get these straight down. Okay. So my first card is a kind of a scratch off, match the
Oh,
stats
yeah.
thing.
Hey, you might be going to spring training.
Guess I'll play with that. Draft pick for the I don't know, some guy named Greg Anthony. There's not a uniform, there's not a team.
I've heard of that. I do know that name. I couldn't tell you anything about him, but I do know that name.
Hmm. Former Royal, Bill Pecota.
Bill
Remember
Pecota. He
Bill
had
Pecota?
a short career, but yeah, I remember him.
For the Yankees, Tim Leary.
Oh yeah,
Not to
Doctor.
be confused with Dr. Timothy Leary, the LSD guru.
Yeah,
Hall of Famer Carlton Fisk.
Pudge, the original Pudge. Yeah,
Ooh, should be Hall of Famer, but he decided instead I'm going to inject myself. Roger Clemens.
I know. What a career, man! Oh,
Hall of Famer, the Wizard, Ozzie Smith.
that's a great card right there. By the way, I like that picture.
Former Cub, former Royal, Willie Wilson.
Oh, Speed Demon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Draft pick, Brent Gates.
It sounds familiar. I couldn't tell you anything about him.
For the Astros, Luis Gonzalez, before he reinvented himself as a power hitter. Wonder how he did that. For the Pirates, pitcher Bill Landrum. Remember Bill Landrum? Nope.
No, I don't.
Okay. Royals catcher Mike McFarland.
I remember him. Back
Yeah.
up.
For the Rangers, Kevin Reimer. Don't remember him.
I don't remember him.
Oh, for the Dodgers, Lenny Harris. I remember Lenny Harris.
I remember Lenny.
For the Brewers, Julio Machado.
I do remember. I do remember him. I think he was more of a bullpen guy.
Oh, for the Pirates, Doug Drabick.
Oh, he was the ace of the staff. Oh yeah, he had a nice career.
Yeah, he had 1 year, 22-6, 2.76 ERA. So yeah.
That's back in the Van Slyke and Bonds and Bonilla years.
Yeah, they were a good team then.
They were very good.
Kind of weird, telling people these days how Pittsburgh was so dominant in the late 80s, early 90s. They were really good.
70s, the lumber company. We couldn't
Yeah.
beat them. We couldn't touch the Pirates in the 70s.
Yeah, I hope Pittsburgh does bounce back.
Me too.
Well, great show. We may not be here next week. It's going to be contingent upon my schedule. So if we have a show, you'll know. And if we don't, you'll also know. Okay, I guess that's the best I can say. But anyway, everybody have a happy holidays. And thank you for just tuning in and supporting us. And thank you, Jamaal, for joining us.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.